Hello and welcome back to Swapnil's analysis. Today we are going to discuss a very heart-touching poem written by William Blake. As we all know about William Blake, that he has given voice to the voiceless. And throughout his poems, he talks about the urban poverty, how the industrialization has affected or had affected the contemporary farmers. How, when they migrated to the cities or mostly to the London, and how they were living, that we have already seen in means we get to see in the chimney sweeper his poem, in the black boy, and now in today's poem the London. So London poem, it was basically published in 1792, and as we are all aware that the most important event that had taken place during the late 18th century, that was French Revolution, and the French Revolution had affected the minds of the contemporary poets, and William Blake, he was no exception to that. So basically, William Blake, he talked about the situation of the poor of the cities, urban poverty, situation of the laborer, situation of the chimney sweeper boys, and situation of the early slums that were that were getting settled into the urban part of the England, that were developing in the urban part of the England. So this poem, it's a very simple poem, and that is the very fascinating fact about William Blake, which I like the most, that he has written his poems in a very simple and in a very lucid language. So here in this poem, which was London, which was published in 1792, and the poem is very simple. It is written in four stanzas, in four lines stanzas, and each stanza speaks about different thing, different issue. So the poem is written in a first person. So today we'll just discuss about stanza by stanza. So let us start. I wander through each chartered street, near where the chartered Thames does flow, and mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe. So here, chartered street means the well planned and the named, because London city is known as the well planned city of the world, and the oldest city of the world, and it was also considered at that time the capital of the trading capital of the Europe. So so such a city, London, which is considered as a city of rich people at the times of the William Blake, and even today as well, because even today too, most of the offices or the headquarters of the most of the multinationals, they are situated in London, most of them, which functions all around the Europe, but their headquarters, they are situated in London. Therefore, London is at that time was the, and even today as well, the trading capital or the business capital of the Europe. So here in such a city, when I walked through such a well-planned city, at the bank of the Thames River, what he saw, he stumbled upon, he met with some people. The people, who were these people? The people were, they were very weak, and they were very unhappy. They were very sad. Why these people, they were very sad or unhappy? Because these people, they were poor. These people, they were laborer, and these people, they were living on the streets of London, well charted streets of the London, quote and in quote. Well, that's what it is. He's saying that in such a city, which is known for its wealth, which is known for its culture, because of the drama, because of the poets. Most of the poets, they live in such a city. How can no one is talking about this? That why everyone is turning their eye or turning their faces from these poor people. Therefore, he says, I mark weakness and marks of woe. They were very weak, weak in a sense, physically weak because they could not have probably to eat something, or because of the excessive hard work they must have to go through, and woe, sad because they were completely unable to do something about their own life, because they cannot change it. Why? Because they, as he told, they were weak physically and as well as mentally and as well as socially, because they were not united at that time as a worker. The second stanza: in every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every band, the mingle from the manacles I hear. So here he says that every man, crying means they were not crying. They, as he met that, why are you living in such a condition? We just imagine, we just assume that he had met some of the people and he had inquired about them, that why, who are you and why are you living in such a condition. So they, some of them must have told their stories, their sad stories to the speaker. And therefore, he's saying that in every cry of every man, all of the men, they were so sad, they were so unhappy because of their condition, because of their working condition, because of their family condition, and because of their property. They probably may not have to eat enough food for their families, and they were all living on the streets. Imagine, they were all living on the streets. And the cry of an infant baby, imagine a newly born child that what must be lying somewhere in the hammock, and both his parents, they were working somewhere to feed their other children. So that is the cry of a infant baby, infant cry of a fear. It's not fear about that infant baby. It is the fear about what would happen if someone just lift off that baby and take away somewhere and sell that baby off. What will happen? Though they were living in such a condition that they had no solution to it, and they were just tolerating everything. They had assumed that that was their fate. So therefore he says that in every voice, in every band, the mingle falls manacles are here, as if these people, they were chained to the poverty and they cannot do anything to that. And that was very hard from them to break those shackles of poverty. Why? Because they did not have permanent home in London. They did not know anyone. They had left their village. This poem actually focuses about the migrant workers, the migrant people who had migrated from villages to city, and they knew no one in the city, and they had no skill, because they probably could have been farmers who had sold their farmland to the industry for the factory, and now they were living in the London, and they were totally dependable on the city. And the city itself had ignored these peoples. The city like London, the business capital, the trading capital, the cultural city of Europe, has totally ignored these people. And that's what William Blake, he wants to draw attention of the readers towards these, towards the condition of these people. And also this poem has become now an a historical document about how the people, how the city was during 1792. third stanza. How the chimney sweepers cry, every blackening church appalls, and the hapless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace wall. So here, now he in the third stanza he talks about, as he has written a specific poem on the chimney sweeper, that chimney sweepers, they were the kids who used to clean the chimneys, and their parents, they would sell these children to the contractors, and they would cry about the sweeping of the chimneys. And here he wants to say that even the people who hired these small kids to clean their chimneys or clean their fire outlet, they did not think about the lives of these people. So, and the blackening church upwards, even the church, they could not do anything for these people. Therefore, it's the appalls. The condition of the church is very appalling. Even the soldiers who were fighting for the protection of the palace, even palace did not care about the soldiers, nor did they care about these peoples who were living in a very poor and harsh condition on the streets of London. But, fourth stanza, but most through midnight streets I hear how the youthful harlot skirts and blasts the newborn infant's tear and blights with plagues the marriage hers. So here, this was the earlier scene. Means the first three stanza probably talks about the afternoon of the London street or the evening of the London street. Now here he talks about the midnight. When he walked through the same area at the midnight, what he saw, the young women or the young wife of these poor families, they were working as harlots, they were working as prostitutes. They were selling their bodies. Why they were selling their bodies? To feed their family. Why? Because these men, they had no skills. These men, they had no farmland. These men, they had no jobs. So it was now the responsibilities of the women, probably the young girls of the families, probably the young wives who had left behind their small kids or infant, and the babies who had born out of these illicit affairs, this work of prostitutes. And therefore what he says, that all these things, they are not only affecting the London city, but they are also, it is a kind of a thing about the marriage institution. He also talks about the immortality of those rich men who were probably married or who would later on in their life get married. What about their marriage? What about the institution of the marriage? And this poem talks about and shows us the a very what gleam picture of the London city in the 1792. And therefore William Blake, he has cemented his place in the history of English literature by talking about the poverty of London city, by becoming the voice of the voiceless. So what you think about this poem and what you think about my analysis of this poem, please let me know in the comment section. And if you have liked my presentation, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.